And welcome to this month's journey to Chicago Junction. The radio program is all about the amazing world of railroading, the many facets of the industry, the model railroading. I'm your announcer, Brian Ballou, and here is our boss, the home of the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, and Chief Electrical Engineer, Mr. John DeVito.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Chicago Junction from the John DeVito Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Wednesday, August the 14th, the year 2019. Today, the panel will be talking about railroads and model railroads. And now to start today's broadcast, here is our announcer, Mr. Brian.
Thank you, John. And I'm also taking over. I lost the coin cost again, so I got to play host for everybody. My name is Brian Ballou. I retired Navy and also retired from working for the railroad as engineer and conductor. And I love trains, just like everybody else. I do presentations for Operation Lifesaver for anybody that'll listen. And of course, you know, still brushing the old oil sweat out of my hair after the big boy came through a couple weeks ago.
And it's still dirty.
That is correct. And now to introduce this fine panel we got here. To my left, we have Dave DeRuska.
Yeah, hi, Dave DeRuska. I am in charge of the Chicago Junction Facebook page. How's that for a great job, huh? Doesn't pay anything. Retired locomotive engineer from Metro and a number of other railroads. Do some stuff on Facebook with not only with Chicago Junction, but with a page called Chicago Area Railroad Historians. I'm also working on a project to honor Chicago railroads once a year with Chicago Railroad History Month this October. And in 2023, we hope to be celebrating the 175th anniversary of the running of the first train in Chicago, pulled by that grand locomotive, the Pioneer. Not the big boy, the Pioneer. A little bit smaller than the big boy.
I'm Ron Stock, retired librarian, Fulmer, and I spent 2 different days out looking at the big boy, which was such a blast. It was really cool. Anyway, and overall, just a train buff.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Berry. I'm a retired Chicago police sergeant, lifetime Lionel collector and operator, and I was also one of the lucky thousands who got to see the big boy, and having had the privilege of seeing it in West Chicago, it dwarfed the one in Green Bay and the one out at Steamtown, because to know that monster breathes just puts all the other ones on static display to shame.
That those have ever wished it on their bucket list to see the world's largest steam locomotive in operation. Well, those who have lucky enough to see it, we can check that off.
Just seeing it is worth the check. Seeing it under power, the mortician will be working for a week trying to get the smile off your face. Brian is shaking his head because he doesn't want to smile and blind us all.
I want to keep my dentures in.
Hi, this is Doug Kenyuk. I'm adjunct professor at Wright College, longtime rail fan, end scaler, and an officer in the Railroad and Short Lines Club of Chicago. And yes, seeing the big boy, that thing was impressive.
I'm back for my second time. I'm Ron Messner. I'm a garden railroader, and I really enjoyed that big boy coming through. And I went to West Chicago, and it was amazing, the crowd of people that seemed like they never saw a steam engine before.
They probably
a lot of them didn't.
But it was amazing, just to see all these people up and close to this engine.
I never got a chance to walk up to one of the UP people and ask them if they had anything bigger. I really wanted to.
You smart tuckus.
Okay.
Okay.
Somebody had a Lionel UP Big Boy out at the club. The engine and the primary tender in scale is very close to 3 foot long.
Yep.
I mean,
There's a guy that a real enthusiast. He could put some of us to shame on his enthusiasm, and he just wanted to get out there. He wanted to get the UP people. He wanted to put his big boy right next to him. He had one of the USA ones, 129th scale. Oh yeah,
And did he?
I did see him there
Yeah.
on Monday, but they told him to take it down. I mean, he just walked right in to set it up to put next to it. And, you know, in front of everybody, and I'm going, okay, you know, I think his foam runneth over.
But they put a cork in it
Probably.
pretty fast.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, the UP people are really nice.
Yeah, the people
Super.
themselves were great. The crew that was assigned to it, because they had a couple conductors that are traveling with the train full time out of Cheyenne.
Mhm.
They have besides having the regular crew to guide them over and calling for orders and stuff. You know, like they had to call track warrants coming down out of Milwaukee.
Right.
the tolerance that I saw the UP people showing was just
Yep.
unbelievable.
Well, they're used to it by the time they got to West Chicago. I mean, they've already been around quite a few places.
You could tell the conductors that were traveling with the train because they had a small Union Pacific 4014 nose shield with the gold spike behind it.
Mm.
When I say small, I mean the shield was about the size of a dime. And that pin was not offered for sale anywhere. They had the nose shield pin, but you know, I would have paid $10. Hell, I would have paid $25 for those little ones.
Now the truth comes out.
Yeah.
Well, thank God my wife doesn't listen to this, or she'd confiscate my train money.
No, you know, people don't realize what they're actually seeing. I mean, we're talking, you know, you had the little locomotives, yeah, but you know, this was almost the epitome of what with the technology up to that time. You got what, 17 feet tall, 134, you know, 550 tons? Or they like the poundage number.
What was
One
1,200,000 and change?
Yeah.
1 million.
1.2 million
Yeah,
pounds, or 550 tons.
and they were built either
speed.
on the cusp of World War II or during World War II.
Well, yeah. Well, the first batch came out in 1941. Is when the first were built. Second batch was built in 42
42 and 43. Yeah.
and they were actually planning a third batch that was going to be longer. They were going to have an extra axle on the tender.
With a bigger boy.
Yeah, the bigger boy. That's the one. That's the one they put the fried onions on.
It wouldn't have been a big boy. It would have been a Yo Mama.
Bigly.
But,
Been a
you know,
bigly boy.
but yeah, I mean, you see that machine, and we were lucky enough to see it move coming down the tracks, both at speed and slow. And you go, think of the inventions that it gave birth to. all the formulas that came out of steam locomotives. The balance system alone actually made it easy for them to have the internal combustion engine, because they use the same balancing system in it. So basically they made their own machine that would take them out of service. They made the diesels possible. But, 17 feet tall, 11 feet wide.
But I took some photos up there, including the 2 add-on tenders that it was carrying with it, so it didn't get thirsty.
Yeah, the extra 60,000 gallon tanks.
Yeah. And the experience car and the dome cars, and some of the cars that were in the consist behind the big boy were cars that had made the trip with the Bush presidential funeral train.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, they're all part of the
heritage fleet out of Council Bluffs.
The historic heritage fleet. 2 of the baggage cars are officially the crew cars for the steam locomotive crew, and like one of them is named Art Lockman. That was the man who maintained the 844 and helped restore the 3985, and bought that. And he finally retired just before Steve Lee retired.
One of the tenders was named too. I think it was Art Hill, if my memory serves me correctly. I thought it was unusual that a tender would bear someone's name, but I figure he must have been somebody of some importance within the railroad to have a piece of equipment named for him.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Well, you see a lot of presidents' names that are on it. Presidents from UP are on the cars.
One of the passenger cars bore the name Kennefic.
Yeah.
Now, is that somebody from within the railroad, or was that a famous station?
He was a president of UP, and not that long ago. Not that far in the past. And if you go to Omaha and you look up on the hill and you'll see the big boy and the DD-40X up there. That's in Fenwick Park. And in fact, he was up in Pocatello when the Challenger first went up there, before they made her an oil burner. When she was a coal burner and really taking care of the weed problem along the tracks.
Well, I love that square-tailed observation car, especially the way that, the rail swung inside so it couldn't open by accident, and then the lower from the deck down is slightly curved in, and when they lower the steps, the steps are all inside the body proper, and the portion they lower becomes the step going out.
Yeah, when they pull the deck plate up,
Yeah.
steps go down.
No. Beautifully designed.
Well, yeah, if you notice all the observation cars of that era, the gate always opened in.
It's just yes, it's a rail car, but it's just a beautiful piece of design.
Well, that's why it was one of the most popular places, and that's why they were all first-class passengers in the rear.
I thought that was just because they kept the rabble up front, so if they ran out of fuel, they could throw them in the firebox.
You were watching that snowplow again. Snowpiercer.
Yeah, that's on Netflix now.
Yes, it is. Okay, would you like us to give us some more wonderful news from the world of railroading?
Yeah, it ain't going to be about the big boy, I'll tell you that.
Hey, she's home now in Cheyenne, getting prepared. They're getting ready to make the western journey.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see what's going on here. The Village of Homewood is asking the public's help in securing funding to renovate the Homewood train station. And I think when they mean renovate, I think they mean replace. I saw an image of it, and it looks like a brand new modern station. Anyways, the village officials are asking residents to write letters of support for the project and to send them to the Metropolitan Agency for planning. That's because they say the funding for the agency's surface transportation program, shared fund program, boy, that's a mouthful, is at risk after the city of Chicago, of all people, asked for changes to the way money is allotted. Money awarded under the program pays for the full cost of approved projects. Chicago requested a reconsideration of the rule so that partial funding would be permitted. Homewood has applied to the program for the train station's renovation with the understanding that that if it is approved, all costs would be covered. So, I don't know why Chicago changed once the rules changed, but that's what's going on there. Here's something close to Doug's heart here. Tech companies ignore pleas on rail safety.
Yeah, I got that one.
All right. I'll let you do that one then. Here's something that's near and dear to my heart. The Rails to Trails people.
Oh, what have they done now?
Well, it seems that Jackson County, the 52 million hike and bike trail is in limbo after federal government denied the right-of-way. Jackson County, which paid $52 million to acquire the nearly 18 miles of the old Rock Island Railway to rip up tracks and ties to build a hiking and biking trail, is no longer has the right to the corridor, a federal regulatory agency was ruled. The decision Tuesday by the Federal Surface Transportation Board places the fate of the trail in limbo. It raises questions about who actually owns the 17.7-mile strip, what will become of it, and whether the county squandered $52 million of the taxpayers' money. It means Jackson County is totally expletive, said Kansas City Attorney Tom Stewart, who sued, challenging the method in which the county took possession of the land to build the trail. What that means is they have spent $52 million, and that, as things stand today, they don't have any right to be in the corridor, let alone build a hiking and biking trail. It seems that once you tear up the rail and the ties, you have basically it is no longer a corridor. It's no longer considered a corridor under the federal regulations, and that property reverts to the prior landowners or their heirs. So now a lot of the landowners are suing because they don't want the trail in their backyards. They want either the land back or they want to be paid fair price for the land so they can do that. So that puts that in limbo, and that may affect a lot of other trail projects in the country.
Oh, the ones that were still a little fuzzy in how they got done?
Yeah.
Maybe like in north of Indianapolis?
Well, I got something about that too.
Poor little NIMBYs are crying.
I don't want to see rails torn up. As nickel plate track removal nears, competing bidders say something doesn't add up. Companies that bid to remove nickel plate railroad tracks said Hamilton County officials significantly overstated the amount of recyclable materials the salvage operation would yield and underestimated the amount of work involved. As a result, 3 of the 5 companies that applied for the job didn't offer to pay the Hoosier Heritage Port Authority anything for the tracks. Instead, they requested that the authority pay them $150,000 on average to tear them out. A 4th offered the Port Authority only $7,300. The agency chose Utah-based AK Materials, which will pay the Port Authority $289,000 to remove the tracks. The company plans to salvage the material. But A&K won't take on most of the most expensive part of the job, removing the tracks at the road crossings and repaving torn up streets afterward, which competitors estimate would cost more than $1 million. There's another part about how basically the most of the scrap materials. Well, the 4 losing bidders told IndyStar they don't see how the company would turn a profit on such a massive job, especially the volatile scrap metal prices being so low. It's risky. Steel prices are down, and the tonnage they advertised was not tonnage that's there. There's also the fact that the ties are absolutely unusable.
Yeah.
You can't sell them to... Most landscaping companies won't take used ties anymore because the creosote.
A&K Materials wouldn't sell them to landscapers. What they do with the ties is they grind them up and send them to the power company to be burned.
Okay, all right.
So that's what they do. Then they take the scrap rail and send it to a place in Calumet that turns them into fence posts.
Just turns them into fence posts. They don't
Takes
melt
the
them
ro-
down.
No, they just keep rolling them and then cut them up and they become fence posts.
I know. I've seen guardrails made out of rails and stuff.
Right. No, that's what A&K does. They scrap and the gravel's left behind, and they take the ties, grind them up, and into the power company.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to see this trail anytime in the near future. They're not going to have the kind of money to even build it out. The money that they're getting for the scrap isn't going to pay for it. It's going to
They're
cost
not going
millions.
to get the people.
No.
Well, you already knew they were never going to get the people.
Yeah. Yeah, all here says nobody really wants the ties. Although the bid notice said that some of the 200-pound ties were recyclable, mostly at a landscape business or recyclers as fuel source, the contractors say they are generally useless and cost more to remove than and need to be buried in landfills. It's an expensive affair. So that's what's going on in the wonderful world of trails. Rails to trails. I got one more thing about, let's see what's going on here with Amtrak. Amtrak wants to put an, oh yeah, I love this headline. I love headline writers. Amtrak hungers for an upscale food hall at Union Station.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. Seems that Amtrak, as part of its ongoing renovations at Union Station, is climbing aboard the Food Hall Express. The railroad wants to add a bespoke food hall. Do we know what bespoke means? Bespoke is an English term for elegance. British. It's a British term for elegance. So they want to have an elegant food hall in the downtown station, and they're seeking operators to move into the space along the building's Clinton Street side that has been off limits to the public since a devastating fire in 1980, and I believe that was the Fred Harvey restaurant.
Yeah.
That was in that space. Yeah. Amtrak is turning to one of the hottest market trends in commercial real estate in hopes of bringing to the landmark building an amenity for travelers and those who live and work nearby. With all the development that is going on around the Union Station, we think a food hall is just a natural for this space. Now, if anybody's been to Ogilvy Station, the former Chicago Northwestern Station, they have something similar in the suburban concourse, the French Market.
Yeah.
It's essentially a food store you can get hot and cold items to take out, meals and stuff. Food halls have opened at numerous sites in and near downtown to general acclaim in the past few years. There's a really cool one up in Milwaukee, near their station. They can have various menu items and formats from one operator, such as Chicago Eataly, or are more commonly are collectives such as the French Market at Ogilvy Transportation Center, with higher prices, of course, and a little style. Food halls are the refined relatives of the humble food court, where fast food franchises reign. So essentially, I think they're trying to build something that's going to be more geared towards the people that are going to be moving into that area. With the condos that are going up, there are really no grocery stores. I think the closest one is over at Roosevelt and Canal.
Yeah, but see, that's just it. They want to bring in all the higher gentry.
Right.
And the rail, the heck with the rail passengers.
Well, I don't think the Amtrak passengers are going to be going in to buy candy bars and pork rinds.
No.
Not at all. So that's the latest there. They're trying to upscale the station. And I yield the floor.
Okay. I was following the big boy on Friday and basically made 2 stops to do photo shoots. One was at York Road, just a little bit to the Park Road by the airport there, and it was a great place to take pictures. And when I got there, there were about I'd say 25 people. By the time the big boy left, there was probably way over 100, and there were cars on both sides of the road, totally packed. And I thought we'd have a demolition derby getting out of there town because everybody else was going to another site. And basically, the big boy got there, I think, about 1 o'clock or so. So anyway, from there, I ended up going up to Lombard, and there's a prairie path which goes actually over the rails up there. And so we had a guest 2 months ago who was from the Elmhurst Model Railroad Club, and he had suggested that would be a great place to take pictures, and it was. And it was pretty cool because all of a sudden we had a black helicopter over the site, and they were taking pictures of the train and the crowd below. And there, what was interesting, there had to be at least easily, I'd say 200 people up on the bridge, and then you had a good sight line into, which was further west, was the Lombard station. On both sides, people were very smart. They brought their lawn chairs out, and there must have been easily 2,000 people, probably 1,000 on each side of the track, jam-packed. And it was a great experience. One, because seeing younger children that were there with their parents, most of them, I'm pretty sure that none of them had seen that engine, and certainly any steam engine whatsoever, and they're quite a different beast than seeing a diesel run, and the sound and everything else. So I had pretty much a blast that day, going to two different locations. And then Saturday I went out to see the big boy out in West Chicago, and ended up getting some souvenirs, which they had a ton of. And the line initially, the first line that I was in was to see their exhibit that they had. They had a baggage car with the history of the Union Pacific on display, as well as what they're currently doing in modern railroading. They had one gentleman who, frankly, he had a goatee, sort of like the guy who was holding the big champagne bottle. And I even joked with him, I said, "They got your picture up here." And he kind of laughed. He was a young guy, I'd say about 25, 30 maybe at most. And he was part of the Union Pacific crew. And that was cool. The only thing that I was a little bit disappointed in, I thought they might have had a second baggage car actually showing how they did the restoration of the engine, because I was kind of interested in that, because I'm sure the UP took pictures of it through the various stages that they were going through.
Well, you're going to have to buy the Kalmbach video.
Yes.
and their book, The Big Boy.
Oh, okay. I will definitely be doing that. Thanks, Brian. The other thing that I ended up picking up, which was cool, because UP did a lot of advertisement, and it wasn't all just the big boy. Part of it was for the Golden Spike, and they had two t-shirts, one with the famous picture that was taken at the laying of the Golden Spike, and it's black t-shirt with little bit of blue lettering, and it says "Driving the Golden Spike," and it's got the Union Pacific original logo from that era. They have the date 1869 to 2019, and of course the famous photograph that they took at Promontory on May 10th, 2019. The second one was also a Golden Spike t-shirt, and it said 1869, the Great Race to Promontory, and they actually have a big golden spike on it. They had two big boy t-shirts, at least the day I was there. They have one, a head-on shot of the engine 4014, and they have the Union Pacific logo with the engine number on it. And this one's a green t-shirt with gray, basically a black and white photo of the front end of the big boy, And then I'm currently wearing the one that says Big Boy on it, which is a yellow, and then the engine itself is a sort of a sideways view of the engine. And once again, they have the Union Pacific logo 414. The other two things that I got was a Union Pacific cap, which was for a baseball cap, which is brown with kind of a green background, and then the UP logo 414. And they also were selling a golden spike, which I ended up picking up, but I somehow slipped out of my bag, so it's somewhere in my car probably.
They offered a fifth T-shirt in light blue in youth sizes with the head-on shot. They offered pullover shirts, bandline shirts, if you would. One with the 4014 front-end crest embroidered on it. They had a couple others. They had a 4014 jewelry box. They had 4014 shot glasses. They had some other tchotchkes.
The only other suggestion
And a beer cozy with the 4014 on either side. So you could violate Rule G and keep your beverage cold.
Doesn't have to be beer.
The only other thing I would have suggested for the UP to have, they didn't have bags. And I think even if they would have sold the bags, if they had a picture of Big Boy on it and stuff, I think people would have bought them for a couple of bucks or $5 or whatever. If you're a foamer like me, I would have bought it, and it would have been a lot easier carrying stuff.
See, you need to be a consultant for the merchandising team.
The tchotchke
Yeah.
consultant.
That's it. That's it.
The tchotchkes.
I mean, the way you were describing everything, I wish we had a runway here to have everyone walking down posing.
I would be happy to act as a model. So, anyway, I have to admit it was one of my two best days of my entire life, seeing the Big Boy. That was
Probably good that your
truly-
wife doesn't listen to this show either.
Hey, I don't have any of those problems. I've been single my whole life.
Oh, okay. Well,
In
there you
our
go.
family, we have quite a few confirmed bachelors, of which I'm one of them. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, that was quite a display. It was very good. And the engineer was fantastic. When he came out, they stopped a little bit. They were just coming out of the trees by the airport. So when he started getting the engine under full steam and that, he's honking the whistle and the horn and everything, and I was like,
Talking.
no, that's probably not.
Is that a new railroad?
Oh, I'm being
That must be a
he
new railroad
blasphemes.
term.
I honk the horn all the time.
The whistle.
Yeah, but
I'm
you
a
were
notable horn honker.
you were a diesel man.
Well, I think they have both air and steam whistles on there, don't they? Do they have an air horn on there? No?
No, the 49 did.
Okay.
So it's all
Did
steam
they?
or
Yes, it is pure.
pure. Okay.
Yeah, he sounds the horn.
Whatever.
So anyway,
You can toot your horn too.
Yeah, I can take my horn.
I could-
Toot your
I
horn.
will yield my time to Ron, seeing as he got almost no time last time, and I have some things, but I'll
I really don't have
defer
anything.
to a more senior member.
Oh, God.
Well, why don't you give the fresh air report on Garden Railroading?
A fresh air report. Well, first of all...
Nobody ate beans here tonight, so
First of all, my Garden Railroad is not up due to circumstances, but that's beside the point. But again, I enjoy garden railroading because there's a lot that can be done in my area from my backyard. And besides that, I have friends that like me, and they decided that because of a certain individual who made a big comment, I have two nice woodies that that are the hit of my backyard. Control yourself, Brian.
Yeah, most
please.
guys are just blessed with one.
Well,
Yes, I know.
I know that.
Thank you. I didn't have to say that.
I had to say that. I don't know why, but it was just.
No.
It was very innocently done by an individual.
It was the wife of one of our members.
His wife, yes. I didn't want to
And-
go into
yeah.
a whole lot of details, but
Well,
I mean, it was
this we want to make it the best way we could.
Okay, all right.
And she commented,
It's-
"What a
well,
wonderful."
let me do the talking, please. He asked me to
Yeah.
talk. So,
Yes, sir.
Hush.
Shut up.
So she steps over the railroad, the tracks, and looks at underneath my porch, my deck, I should put it, because I have Southport Avenue because that's where I grew up at, and back then there was a streetcar, so I have a streetcar. First I was going to have it point to point, and I couldn't get it. Then I decided to make it just go around in a circle, and there was the car. And very innocently, she turns around and says to me very nicely, "Ron, you've got a nice Woody." And the three individuals did everything from not laughing out loud, and then she realized what she said. And we razz her all the time about that. But
As long as she didn't reassess her statement,
no, she didn't reassess her statement.
smile
you
and
know.
say thank you.
But the thing is, with my yard, because I'm in the city of Chicago, and I have, if everything runs properly, I can have 6 trains running at one time. I have a main line, a second line, my streetcar. I have a barrel that the train just whatever I put there. Then I have an in and out. And then downstairs in my basement, I have a circus town. So, I mean, I have trains running if they all run properly. So, everybody is kind of surprised when they come to my yard because it's just not trains running, but I've got flowers and different. So, it's a very colorful yard because it's garden railroading. I've been to a number of conventions, and everything is so green and bushes, there's no color to it, and they got trains running, and the trains are dark. So
Does your trolley run past the Zum Deutschen Eck restaurant?
no, it doesn't room door the no.
That was my favorite restaurant on Southport.
Yeah, it's
Unfortunately, its history.
its history is right. It's Southport has a lot of history behind it. If people would really, because I wanted to know some things about names of buildings, because I couldn't put all the buildings on the underneath because then it'd look awfully cluttered. And somebody couldn't remember what the names of So you figure from Irving Park to Clybourne, there's a lot of that. First of all, the streetcar ran from there, and then they took the streetcar away, and then they put the bus on, and then it wasn't making any money. Then the bus went. So I've not yet found the number of the route that it was. I have to find a book from the CTA.
It's not by the CTA, but there is a small book on Chicago streetcars and trolleys. We talked about it maybe 6 months ago. It's the same company that makes the books on all the little different neighborhoods,
Okay.
and it's just all kinds of photographs of the horse-drawn trolleys and the traction trolleys and the electric trolleys. And
Well, that's the same.
matter of fact, I got the copy I got from the public library.
Yeah, it's Arcadia Publishing.
I mean, that's almost the same situation with the theater, the movie houses that used to be in the neighborhoods, and now, a number of them are all gone. And they're trying to revamp 3 of them in the area. The Congress is under construction. The portage is just hanging there, and the patio is doing the same thing. It just
They just announced on the news tonight that Byline Bank is either supporting or has purchased the Aragon Ballroom, and it will now be known as the Byline Aragon Ballroom or Theater.
They bought the naming rights.
Naming rights,
Yeah.
okay. So, I mean, that's money going in there. They say that place draws 250,000 people a year.
Well, that's almost the same thing with the Uptown Theater. I mean, it's been under construction for years, and now it's supposed to be really, working. But I haven't seen anything or heard anything more than what's in the paper.
Well, the people that own the Aragon also own the Uptown. They're concert promoters. They're concert
yeah,
promoters.
they're the concert. Yeah, because I wanted to take pictures of the inside, but my son didn't know who to contact.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. The only other way is
Jam Productions.
Yeah, Jam Productions. So they're forget that.
The Michelsons. I used to work in a company that had a building that was owned by the Michelsons, and we used to get some pretty good concert deals out of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're
If the interior is going to be upgraded to anything close to the Nederlander, which used to be the Ford Center for the Performing Arts and was originally the Oriental Theater, they got buku work to do. I was there. I was at the Nederlander on the 4th to see the last Chicago performance of Cats, and all the interior work is just copious.
So you mean they shut the theater down now?
No. I mean, it went through a major rebuild within the last 10 years.
Okay.
All the plaster work was fixed up and painted, and the lighting was all redone. And
Oh, you were talking about the Oriental.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, they just recently announced that they're finally done with the auditorium theater, and it's been decades that they've been working on it, restoring it, rehabbing it. So, yeah, it isn't cheap either. But
No, it's not cheap as right. I mean, there's too much history out there that's just going to the wayside.
right.
Well, that's the same with our preservation in railroading alone. I mean, it's great to save something, but to leave it out in the open and rust away.
there were 4 movie houses in Roseland and a 5th one on 119th Street near Normal, and 4 of the 5 no longer exist, and the 5th one is dying a slow death of rot on Kensington Avenue. You can tell looking at it that it was a movie house and that it was probably built in the 20s or 30s from the design. But the Roseland Theater is gone. The State is gone. The one across the street from the State is gone. The one on 119th Street is gone. Within the last 2 years, they tore down the movie theater that was at 79th and Normal. It's gone. Just a vacant lot. But on a slightly more upbeat, for rail fans, the 20th Century Railroad Club is sponsoring Trip 19E in September, which is a doubleheader Railway Museum tour. And you can go to their website and get more information. Adult tickets are $65 and children are $30. And that'll be the Fox Valley Trolley Museum and the Illinois Railway Museum. And I've never been to the Fox Valley. I have been to IRM numerous times. My children loved that place. I've got a picture of all 3 of my kids standing in an open clamshell.
Well, the Fox River Trolley Museum is not as big, but they cater to the electric, and they have a nice setup.
Yeah, they've got a little. The trolleys will go from their depot into the forest preserve there.
Yeah, that's the
sort of
one that
truck.
we talked about last year, but the kids went in and destroyed the windows.
Right.
Okay, and yesterday morning, Menards put out a blast. They brought out another building entitled J. Shepherd and Sons, and it's a dog food plant. And they have an illuminated sign of someone pouring a bag of Jack's dog food into a red bag of Jack's dog food, cascading down into a large red dog food bowl with a white paw mark on it, and Jack the Shepherd is laying on the dock, and it comes with numerous people on the roof, on the stairs, on the loading dock, by the door going into the office, and it has removable panels so you can run a train through it, or you can use it as a freestanding building, and it's $99.99, and this week as we speak, Menards has got an 11% rebate sale, so you can get it for $88.99, and when you order it, you can order it to be delivered to your Menards, and you won't pay shipping. So for hobbyists, saving pennies is what's important. And for those of you who can see radio waves, my show and tell tonight is a brand new Lionel GP9 torpedo, so named because it has 4 air tanks on the roof that were used as a reserve air pressure supply for the brakes, and it's painted in enchantment blue, and what would you call that shade of white? It's not a pure white.
No, it's gray.
It looks like a gull gray almost.
It's a gray, and that's enchantment blue.
Yeah. Or did I say something? Did I? I
don't
thought
know.
I said enchantment,
I thought he did too.
Okay,
but I stand corrected.
I got these earphones on.
It's the B&O passenger livery. I had an opportunity to get it on track out at the clubhouse Saturday with 5 of the Capital Limited passenger cars behind it, and it made a really nice short train. It has great detail. It's got lift rings on the hood. It's got grab irons. It has, whether correct lighting for when you're running it forward. The trailing end lights up red. It's got side marker lights that light up. It's legacy. It's Bluetooth. The only thing it's not is full size. And it was $489. But,
I'll give you a lesson.
please.
The air tanks are on the roof, not for extra reserve. The air tank that's normally next to the fuel tank became a water tank for the boiler to provide steam heat. So they had to find a place to put air tanks, and that's why you ended up with the torpedo tubes on top.
And on the roof, facing towards the cab and the short hood, is a nice five chime air horn.
Nathan?
I'm just blown away by the detail on this engine.
It is pretty.
That's why you like the 5 horns. No, the detail on that is fantastic.
It's even got the EMD builder plate on it.
Yeah, they've been
Right
doing that quite a bit lately. Getting the extra detail in, and beautiful number boards, 3414, that do light up. Very, very happy with it. Electric couplers. The box is over there. I'm not going to reach for the box. The last thing I have is someone who was kind enough to give me a copy of the September issue of the Trains magazine, and they asked how the UPs were originally, or how the big boys were originally delivered to the UP, and the answer is the routing has been lost to history, but the best that they can come up with was number 4000, which was the original big boy that was delivered in 1941, according to Jim Rin's, WRINN' article, Birth of a Legend, that was in the Big Boy Back in Steam special issue. It was shipped in dead tow from the manufacturer Alco in Schenectady, New York, via the Delaware and Hudson, to New York Central, to Chicago and Northwestern, to Chicago or to Council Bluffs, Iowa, where a UP switcher towed the locomotive across the Missouri River, to Omaha, Nebraska, where it was placed into service. You know, it's a shame they dragged it in dead tow halfway across the country instead of letting it run. But I suppose if it's in dead tow, you don't have to pay trackage.
Clearances. You had to be careful of clearances.
Well, you know, no matter how it got there, thank God it got there. It certainly was one of the highlights of my hobbyist life to see the big boy, especially a living, breathing one, not the two dinosaurs that are in Green Bay and Steamtown National Park.
Or in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Or in Texas.
Yeah. Well.
Or in Denver.
Or Wyoming.
You know, to see it is nice. To know that it's a living, breathing engine is a whole other thing.
That's right. I mean, none of us thought we'd actually see a big boy re-steamed.
No, when I saw when I saw the Norfolk and Western 1218, I thought that was going to be the biggest thing I ever saw.
And then the Challenger came back.
Yes. Yeah, but I got closer to the big boy than I got to the Challenger. That, sir, is all I have. I yield the floor.
Doug.
Yes, I have a few items. Number one, City of Chicago has acquired the freight rights from the Chicago terminal for the Goose Island operation. This is after they forced Chicago terminal into adverse abandonment. And so I had to go do a little research and found out that they're preserving the rails so they could turn it to rail rapid transit later on. However, if the rails are torn out, they can't put them back. Yes, there's an obscure Illinois commission that governs whether rails can cross streets or not. And in the last 25 years, the rulings have gone basically, if the rails are taken out from a grade crossing, they cannot go back in. If the rails have to cross a street and been removed, has to go over or under. This is what's holding up the Skokie extension to Old Orchard.
Oh.
So
He is alive.
Oh my God. Ron,
So,
Ron.
Chicago's
Mr.
got-
Ron Smallin,
yes.
our trolley expert.
So Chicago's got the rights to run freight trains, even though there's no customers. Your favorite, the tollway, asked for another 60-day extension to negotiate. No surprise there.
Yeah.
Hey, new short line, Chicago, St. Paul, and Pacific. It's basically Progressive Rail took over the Chicago terminal operation of the Bensonville Industrial Lead. So, nice long name for
Right,
a
yeah,
short line.
and it goes to none of those places.
Yes, exactly. You mentioned big technology. Yes, there's a problem. The navigation will put you sometimes on a railroad. And they're trying to get the big companies, all 14 of them who write navigational software, to change and make note where grade crossings are so people do not get stuck on them.
I'm sorry. I find that when they turn their wheel, when it says left turn here, don't they know they're on tracks?
Probably not. There's a number of videos. Virtual Rail Fan runs a number of streaming videos. And one of them's pointed at Ashland, Virginia. And they have a number of videos showing people going across and turning right onto the tracks.
That's what caused me to be late getting into Kenosha one night. Admittedly,
You turned
she
on
probably
your
couldn't
tracks?
see too clearly.
Right.
Oh, yeah, we went all the way to Indian Hill. The car got stuck at the crossover at the end of the platform.
That's
And-
a long way.
And the Mercedes.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, man.
The engineer was laughing when he tried to talk to the conductor and me.
Yeah.
So we finally got up there. And oh my! Thank God the access road is right there that the road crews use.
Right.
So the the tow truck can come in. And she's sitting there going, "Where am I?"
Yeah. Well, people do that on the South Chicago branch all the time.
Yeah.
You know, especially in the winter when you can't see the top of the rails. All you see is white snow, and people just assume that they can make a turn. And the next thing you know, they're
On the tracks.
on the tracks.
Well, off the tracks.
And then they try to drive even further. I love that. That's my favorite.
Well, more and more people are relying on the navigational.
They're not relying on their sight.
Exactly. I've had it where my Garmin's told me to do something. I look, I go, no. No, and that's it. That's wrong. And finally, TBS, starting in spring of 2020, is going to have a TV series called Snowpiercer.
I have not seen that
What?
advertisement.
I saw the trailer for it. Had to go look it up. They got 10 episodes already filmed. TBS, spring of 2020, your all-time great movie, Snowpiercer.
We're watching the TV
series.
version of 12 Monkeys, and it's pretty good.
Is it?
Yeah. It's good.
I just noticed that was on.
Yeah.
How many episodes have they shown?
It's not that they've shown it. We're getting it in Netflix, so we're kind of at the beginning.
Oh, so next week. Oh, they've got the full episodes there.
Yeah, right. It's like 4
Okay.
episodes per DVD. So we just saw the first one. And if my wife likes it, it's a good show.
No, Blanche was, she loved the movie. So,
Yeah, 12 Monkeys is a good movie, too.
yes, it is.
What was that? This article kind of intrigued me here. There's an article in the Oak Park.
It was in the Wednesday Journal in Oak Park about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, tiny trains need bigger numbers. It's basically about a model railroad club that's located in it's the Oak Park Society of Model Engineers, and they're in the basement of the North Branch Library. And for years they've been trying to get the Park District of Oak Park convince the village government to sell the Dole property to the Park District. Now the Parks are the landlords of the library's Dole branch, and they've raised the rent for the Model Railroad Club from $87.86 a month to $204.11 a month. And the guy in parentheses says, "Who comes up with these peculiar amounts?" Probably the same person that figured out 9/10 of a gallon. The Park District, while happy to have jacked up the rent, has another concern. With an entity that is clogging up a good bit of the basement in its new property, it turns out that beyond the little tracks, miniature VW vans, and wee little plastic people, the club itself is teeny tiny. Currently there are 35 members, according to Jan Arnold, the Park District chief. Just 9 of those members are from Oak Park, and that's a concern since her job is to, quote unquote, maximize the space for Oak Park residents. That's why the new lease strongly urges the club to add 9 more Oak Parkers before this year is out, and an additional 18 locals during 2020. The Park District is also requiring the club to expand its puny open to the public hours from 2 to 6 per week. Arnold says the Park District wants the club to grow and will help market it. Failing to hit the membership targets would not necessarily require the club to pack up its things and store them in an attic, but it might. And that's the big sword hanging over the tiny railroad's head. And this seems to be kind of a common thing going on now with model railroad clubs, especially those that don't own their own space, is that they're at the mercy of the landlord. You know, if the landlord decides they don't want them there anymore, the landlord decides they want to jack the rent up on them. They're not getting enough money. Many of these clubs have an aging membership. They're not attracting younger people, and they're all starting to wonder, you know, what the future of these. And these are sort of entry-level clubs for young kids. You know, you bring your kid to a model railroad club, just like your guys' Lionel Club.
Yeah.
They bring a kid to the club, and they get intrigued with the hobby, and they get into it.
Well, that is the way they do it. Unfortunately, like you're saying, you're talking about, well, they're doing this and this and this, you know, squeeze them out. You know, Noblesville mayor did that to the museum there.
Right.
And not get anybody to go become members of the museum.
Right.
We have 5 members that say you missed, believe the few lies and never get the full truth.
That was all political.
Politics.
That was all political. It wouldn't surprise me if those 5 members were urged to do that by people who wanted to get rid of that and put their beloved bike trail in.
Oh yeah. Well, it's the same here. You know,
Let's not ruin bike trails.
One of the we're kind of wondering that at the Botanic Garden. For Christmas, Wonderland Express for 15 years has been a nice attraction. Well, they said last year it was stagnant. No, you didn't get a big growth of people. So no more Wonderland Express or anything associated with it. And they're going to do a holiday light walk.
Yeah, that really intrigues children, doesn't it? You know?
Yeah.
Nothing like holiday lights. Oh, whoa.
Yeah, come on, child. You're going to see some lights.
And a lot of people have asked us about it and say, yeah, we're going to come back for Christmas. No. And we're telling them, no. If you don't like it, please write the board.
And don't show up and watch the numbers drop.
Tell them to write in and ask what days the holiday express will be running, because their children and grandchildren want to see it. You know, and then the day after Thanksgiving, they'll be jumping through hoops. We need you to put this up.
Well, see, it'll be like, well, they'll probably bench it for a few years before they do their study. And then, like 10 years later, just like the streetcar, we ought to put this up. People actually want it.
Garfield Ridge Model Railroad
See, I told
Club.
you I'd get you in there, Ron.
Garfield Ridge Model Railroad Club had a similar problem. They're in a Park District building up on the north side, and they were going to rehab the building, and there was questions as to whether they were going to give the Model Railroad Club the boot. But I guess they worked out some kind of deal where they're not going to really do the major restoration that they wanted to do. So they're safe there.
Well, they said that to the Cincinnati Railroad Club when they refurbished, did the internal structure of CUT. And the bank now is going to set all the rent rates. So the rent is high enough where the Cincinnati Railroad Club would be bankrupt in less than a year. But they are going to do it. They want to keep the tower open, and have everybody go up there, and they'll charge ticket price and all, and they'll have their people give the history.
Who's that? The bank?
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
So wait a minute. They're going to leave the model railroad up there?
No, not a model railroad.
Oh.
This is where the Cincinnati Railroad Club met.
Okay, that was their meeting place.
And they have their library and stuff.
Okay.
And all the material that's about CUT that was collected by members.
Yeah.
They did dumpster diving.
Yeah.
And they have it all, and they supplied it when they were asked. And they used it for the reconstruction, a lot of the a lot of the rooms. The restaurants have been restored. The newsreel room has been restored. That's where Summer Rail used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And for the last 4 years, of course, it's been being rebuilt. And when they set them up to come back, goes, no, this is the price you're going to have to pay.
Now, did they keep the materials that they were given for the restoration, or were they given back?
We don't know yet. Yeah.
No. Jeez. Hey, Ron, you got anything to add over there? Ron Schmolin in the corner?
I'm just sitting in the corner.
And you're doing a fine job of it.
And eating your Christmas pie. Well, it's about that time, gentlemen. We're going to have to say happy rails. I hope you all enjoyed listening. Please, again, make comments on Facebook. Let us know what you'd like to hear, who you don't want to hear.
No more big boy. But more Woody.
Me and my big mouth.
Small minds are easily amused.
I know somebody I'm going to get to listen to this program. She's going to love you.
I plead the fifth. It wasn't me.
No.
No.
Plead the half gallon and really enjoy yourself.
We're going to get the Antioch crowd to listen. All right, so
Are they still alive?
to all our fine panel, Dave, Ron, Kevin, Ron, Doug, Ron, Brian, we say happy trails to you. As our express comes into the station, we want to thank you for joining us on our journey through the wonderful world of trains. Chicago Junction is a production of the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network and can be listened to on the web at www.windycityhometown.com, where you can listen to tonight's broadcast and all our past episodes and also sample some of the other programs that are being offered. This is your announcer, Brian Valou. Until next month when we journey to Chicago Junction.
You have been listening to Chicago Junction on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on Wednesday, August the 14th, the year 2019. Chicago Junction was produced and directed by John DeVita, and our special thanks to the executive producer of Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network, Mr. John Chikanda. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Wednesday, August the 14th, the year 2014. Until next time, friends, please be safe and thanks for listening.